listening to the Insight NBL Show with your hosts, Matrix and Hammer.
Guys, it's round 19, and we're calling this one cashing in on Casey. Look, we've prefaced cashing in on Casey here because as a dual position player, Ariana's handbag gives you so much flexibility. He's made nearly 300k. He's 400 plus. You can bring in a guard or a forward if you move in on him. Do I think that he's playable on a single? Yeah, I do. But I also think that spending that 400k elsewhere could just give you a huge bump. So, look, guys, here's trade targets.
Targets acquired.
Now, I've just said that, I'm completely fine with playing this guy on a single. But as long as Adelaide and Perth have something to play for, you can play Cotton, KD, or even Trez on a single in round 20. So when you have a look at the guys that are on doubles, I personally have some question marks around Illawarra. I have some question marks about whether they'll play their full team. I've started to see Froling play less and less, basically every week for the last little while. And yeah, there's some question marks there, but these guys have a lot to play for. Trez have some great matchups this week. So for whatever reason, if you have missed out on one of these guys over the last little period, you can definitely bring in Cotton, KD, or Trez. Moving on from Casey Prather. Now, if you are super set up this week, you could look to Cairns players. I'm going to be looking to stay away from Illawarra players due to some question marks, due to whether I'm just worried that they're going to be playing a dead rubber. Honestly, I might even do the next episode about what to do if Illawarra's last game is a dead rubber. So I like Wardenberg. He's no longer Fraudenberg. I like Tanner and Edwards. They're possible trade-ins a week early, play on the bench this week, and then start them next week. I really like that plan. Look, if Taryn's out, I even like Pedro. I don't know if Taryn's out for the season from what I've seen. But look, if you need to have a punt or bring in a 230k player, he's somebody that you could bring in. We have Tassie, Perth, Southeast Melbourne, and Adelaide on this double. So Perth, high upside team, play fantastically, still have a lot to play for where they're sitting on in the NBL ladder. So they're fifth. I just think they'll be trying to jump Southeast Melbourne, Phoenix there, and they play them this week. So I expect Cotton to go off. But we've got Doolittle, we've got Pinder, who had an absolute rip snorter last week. Pinder scored 55 on his single last week, which is bonkers, and he's only 270k. So he's somebody that if you really liked what you saw last week, and you're banking on that, you could bring in Pinder. Doolittle just went up 40k, but it doesn't really matter at this time of the year. He is that 300k guy that's extremely flexible if you want a 1 week play as well. If I'm probably looking to go up to somebody like a Cotton, and then I need somebody that's a touch cheaper. I can't bring in a Matt Hurt, which I think is also a fantastic option. I can't bring in Matt Hurt. So maybe a Doolittle. He played, I know it was overtime last week, but he played basically every minute that he could. Pinder played 30 minutes as well for his 29 and 11. Looked really good out there. They start somebody like Okwera or an Almanza, but they don't play the minutes as well. So I think Pinder's minutes are safe going down the end. And when I look at round 20, I'm not that confident in playing a Froling, who's probably the best center going forward into the last round. I'm okay with playing a Tanner Groves because Cairns honestly just keep trying out there. But I don't hate bringing in Pinder and maybe having to play him on a single. He's a forward center duel in the last week. I'm just thinking if Froling on a double, if he's playing 15 minutes a night, if you're playing Pinder, who's going to play 30 minutes anyway, I know they do shut him down on occasion, but if he's going to play 32 minutes anyway, I think that you can bring in Pinder and then play him on a single, and he could even outscore a Froling. So I definitely think over the next last 3 games, which Illawarra and Perth have, Pinder and Doolittle will outscore a Froling, is probably the point that I'm getting to. Handy price too at that 270k. Look, I don't really like touching Tasmania players, but I can never really back against Milton Doyle. At 284k, if you can't have that perfect backcourt of KD and Cotton for whatever reason, Milton Doyle is probably the guy this week that I would prefer, due to the fact that your Edwards, even your Tarrans, if they play, the Pedros, blokes like that. I know that there's injury concerns around Dylan Windler. Look, Milton Doyle is probably my third guard, and he is 220k cheaper than Cotton, so I can get around it if it means bringing in a Trez or somebody else. If you're going after the weekly prize, I think that everybody's going to be doing KD and Cotton, so Milton Doyle could be your point of difference. But yeah, look, Milton Doyle is probably my third guard to bring in this week, and gives you a lot of flexibility there. There's a few bottom dollar guys to fund bringing in these higher guys. Higgins Tisha, he seems to be getting lots of minutes at the moment. I've sort of said that I think that Sam Froling gets rested. I think maybe a Lockie Ulbrich gets a bit of extra burn. I think if some of these other guards get a rest, like your Harveys and your Kells, they get a big rest from Illawarra. I think that Will Hickey is a good play. But realistically, I am going to be targeting Perth players this week as 1 week plays. Doolittle, Pinder, Bryce Cotton, there for me. I've already got KD and Trez, but I definitely think Trez, with his matchups this week against maybe a Bannonless and Harrisonless side there in Brisbane. Yeah, I like that. From Southeast Melbourne, I love Sobey. I think that he could even be a pod captain this week in the matchups that he's got. I really like Matt Hurd as well. But yeah, look, Sobey is probably an extra one at 400k as well. I'm not sure you get that. Oh, look, actually playing Perth and actually, I really like the matchups for Sobey this week. They're playing Perth and Adelaide, some of the teams that leak the most amount of points. Let me just confirm that. Southeast Melbourne are playing Perth and Adelaide. Yeah, look, Sobey at 400k probably jumps Milton Doyle for me. Hey, when you're live, you don't have guys to pull you up and bounce back there. But yeah, look, Sobey, a fantastic option as well. Sobey, probably your budget Cotton or Trez if you can't get there. So I like it. For me, probably Pinder and Sobey, rounding the week off as my best buys. You listen to an Insight Fantasy Sports podcast. Cheerio.